You're religious. You're a Catholic, you're a Protestant, you're a Muslim. Naye n'okulaga nti ku Saturday asula mu bbaala. Ku Sunday abeera ne hangover. Alina Bible agijjayo ku Easter. Alina abaana. And I'm like, kati bazze mu lockdown, President tatwagala. And I'm like, look at now this one. President yaleta COVID. And I'm like, yeah, banange. COVID, it's the entire globe. These presidents don't even know what to do. Some have died of COVID. Some have been attacked of COVID. They don't even know how to. This is too much. This is absurd. Kati mutuddeyo mbu muswaza Uganda Airlines. Muli ku muwala wa Muteesa mwavuddeyo. Kuteesa bamuwa batyayi kyefo mu airo. Namwe musome ba headhunting. Tolina kyomanyi ku impact assessment oli awo naawe oli MOP. I'm like, wanange, chichetuliko. People are dying. You're busy wasting time checking Goli Butuluchi Muyasomerawa. Butuluchi tayasome yo Uganda nengambalengera bana Uganda tuli koche. Butuluchi tayasoma. So what? Gwarachi tewasoma. You all studied on government money. You could not afford it. Kano kalisti baakajeewa munyambe akaliko erinnya lye Butuluchi Jennifer ako baakajeewa tonnakalaba. The Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences to present the following for the conferment of the degree of Bachelors of Arts in Social Work and Social Administration. Bamutulachi Jennifer, Amanya Michael Abye, Asimwe John, Bafachik Celestine, Bamutulachi Jennifer, Barungi Barbara, Bate Prt2. Where did this come from? If you people are saying Bamutulachi teyasoma. Mwabasoma mutukoledde ki? Nawandika ekintu nengamba mannange munyambe ndabika ndi musirusiru. Mugamba Museveni aleese obwavu. Nengamba kirabika yenze sibitegeera munyambe bannange munyambe kubanga ndabika ndi musirusiru. Kubanga let me ask as if Sasoma, people are crying of poverty. But what do you use to buy alcohol and have parties every day? Is it me or it is ignorance? June the 16th, 2022. People dying of hunger. Mutude. Government Museveni, Muliku party after party. Ebinvulu. Nemwe posting nga muliyo yomuzina. Muli musitudde emizinga. White party ku white party. Purple ku purple. Mukoleyo ne black anjirabe. Ezo sente ze mutwaleyo lwaki temuzireeta? Government yetuyambe era tujja kubayamba. Anti-fe government. I expect people who are writing books, people who are having conferences, and you're being paid. I expect you to be sending money to Gulu, sending money to your circles of friends who are hungry, who don't have school fees for their children. Sigamugamba okuzaala abaana abangi. Nze namugamba okuva mu famire y'abakodo. Okay. Like muyingirira ebintu bya kisiru. Nemba tunuulira bwete you're proving a point. Let me tell you something. 2026 is coming. You're gonna campaign. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. Museveni is a thief. You went to the shrine, babakolako emikolo. Buli agenze musawo ne bamukolako emikolo. Tafunanga kifo. Mubyegaane nja bireeta. Ababakolako emikolo banyiivu. Kati babawaayo live. Abo be mubuzaabuza abo. Continue. Ne mutuula awo abantu ne bagula data. Saawa namba oli ng'abanyumiza agaboozi. Abantu nga bongera kufa. Then they blame it on Museveni. And in my mind, I'm like, I thought when you have a president, he delegates. What happened to the other leaders? What are they doing in their constituencies? And most of these leaders, they pray. They know God. What do they give people? That takes me back to the word. I wonder. And I'm like, what is happening? Words. Man's words bring depression plus stress plus sickness plus mental issues equals death. God's word creates, restores, renews equals to life. John 1, from verse 1, you can read up to verse 14. Hebrews 4:12. The word of God is a double-edged sword. I'll make sure it separates the bone and the marrow by practicing it. And when you see, when you don't attend class and exams come, you won't have what to write. Hence retake. With God, you don't terminate the process. You have to go through it wholeheartedly because he is the refiner. Malachi 3:3. December the 1st, 2021. Confusion in the camp is caused by who? What are the consequences brought by confusion? How long will the confusion take? Why the confusion? Devil is the mastermind of confusion, and we overcome the devil through using Genesis 12, 2 Chronicles 7:13-14, Psalms 37, Isaiah 40, 58, Joel 2, Habakkuk 2, Malachi 3, John 1, Colossians 3, Hebrews 4:12, Revelations 12. Are you ready to win? Then get up, wear your army uniform. Ephesians 6. Look for your army platoon. Ephesians 4. And 1st and 2nd Timothy, the fivefold ministries and the bishop. August 1, 2022. We are perishing because of lack of knowledge. Hosea 4:6. I got that message in the morning. 07/27/2022. And I got that same message 9 or 11 years ago. And I wrote it on Facebook. Hosea 4:6. I taught it. You didn't attend class? Sorry. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because you, the priestly nation, have rejected knowledge. I will also reject you, that you shall be no priest to me. Seeing you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. I asked the Lord, may God visit sons and daughters and their fathers and mothers. Lord, please visit the church. When God repeats himself about church from 2020 to now, it breaks my heart. Salvation is personal, easy to get saved, but walking the journey May God please intervene. Proverbs 8. The 5th month on the 18th, 2022. The way you cause depression in someone's life, now you're busy creating programs to fight what you caused in someone's life. And I think it will go when the root cause, you, has no remedy for starting it. And think it will go when the root cause, you, has no remedy for starting it in the first place. First go to the root cause, treat the issue, remove the taproot, then fight the issue on the leaves. 2 Chronicles 7, 13 to 14, Isaiah 40, Jeremiah 15, Ezekiel 34, Joel 2, Revelations 12, then fly like an eagle. June the 4th, 2022, at 2:37 a.m. my time. Instructions are not easy, but when followed as given, all the humiliations and words from man just last for a day. And the instructor promotes every stage of class you pass as instructed, not as you targeted 100% through cheating and using others to get what you want to achieve. June 13th, 2020. And I gave you 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16. All scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness. You don't teach how to write in the Bible college. Those are gifts God gives. Are you a writer? Make sure you add the word of God in your writing skills. Don't be like those who use other people's quotes and they don't know where they came from. Those people are bitter who write quotes. They went through something and wrote the quote. But when I look at it, I left you a message. Man writes, but it's all full of their emotions. But the love of Christ in there, I don't see. 1 Corinthians 12. Stop teaching it and leave it. Walk in it. And we will see the love of Christ in the nations in such a time as this. Draw comfort from the word. The word. And through the incarnate word, Jesus Christ, you will be able to triumph over any adversity. In 2020, it was the originality, availability, the word of God. Then 2021, we added. It was originality, availability, the word of God, humility, and practicability. Then for 2022, it is originality, availability, the word of God, practicability, humility, obeying rules and regulations. Of the 6, what have you been doing? Then you keep saying the president of Uganda, the economy. The economy is bad because you've never done the 6. You call it the economy. I taught Psalms 119. You did not attend when we talked about the youth. Today is the devotion, Psalms 119 verse. They're telling us 18. I will continue to do what God asked me to do in your lives, but being your friends, that part you don't know how to be friends. We just use people to get what we want. I know why I'm in each and everyone's life, and I'm doing my part, and I'm happy doing it. Until my candle burns out, enjoy the season. Psalms 119, I'll start from verse 1. How blessed and favored by God are those whose way is blameless, those with personal integrity, the upright, the glueless, who walk in the law and who are guided by the precepts and revealed will of the Lord. Blessed and favored by God are those who keep his testimonies and who consistently seek him and long for him with all their heart. They do not unrighteousness. They walk in his ways. You have ordained your precepts, that we should follow them with careful diligence. Oh, that my ways may be established to observe and keep your statutes, obediently accepting and honoring them. Then I will not be ashamed. Then I look with respect to all your commandments as my guide. I will give thanks to you with an upright heart. When I learn through discipline your righteous judgments for my transgressions, I shall keep your statutes. Do not utterly abandon me when I fall. This was David. David was a man after God's own heart. David was a man who was innocent, who was honest with God. Whenever David sinned, he had to go back to the Lord and repent. David slept with Uriah's wife. He was on top of the balcony. And he peeped. Somehow he looked and he saw the woman showering. And David sent, because he was a king. Kings also do absurd things. Kings are men and women. In Uganda, I've never seen a woman. That's why you're shocked. No country has a woman who is a king. It's only Uganda that has it, but it was hidden because it was a taboo. She was not supposed to grow. My lineage was not supposed to appear anywhere. Those are things they hid. Other kids were killed. My great-grandmother was hidden. And she chose a wife for her son. And she knew that her garment, you're going to look at garments, will be given to the kids whose mother she chose. Buganda, they choose for us spouses. And when God saw that, in my father's house, God chooses our spouses because it comes from the lineage. But they did not know what Kabeja did. When she claimed her, they passed it on. She told her son, don't come out when you don't have her. She was willing to do anything to see that her son has kids with my grandmother. And she succeeded. Her daughter was her heir. The inheritance was supposed to be given to somebody else, not to me. But what Kabeja did caused a commotion in the family, and they fought. And Jaja Nachimera changed her mind. When they gave birth to me, she said, oh, I have gotten mine. Because she was lonely in the family that had many people. Because when her brother died, darkness flowed in the family. And Jaja transferred herself and her mother. We call it soul invasion. I told you, careful with who gives you names. Most of you've carried your grandfathers and grandmothers around, and you're doing things they did. Everything about me is Jaja Nachimera. Those who know her, know what I'm talking about. Now those who saw Kabeja, people feared Kabeja in Buganda. The kingdom. One of my friends that I met in Mengo, 1998, we were discussing and we talked, and he told me that his grandfather told him there was a man, a king called Kalibala, and they feared him. When he gets annoyed, I kept quiet. I did not add anything. Because in Buganda, when you go there, those who know us are there, but they will not say. When you mention Kabeja, Luwalala, Kalibala, some are going to take off. Kabeja did her things, and God allowed. Because God knew such a time as this. When Jaja quarreled with the people she was supposed to give her inheritance, she kept quiet. At the same time, she was dying with cancer. When I was given birth to, Jaja looked at me and just saw her brother, her mother. She knew God had remembered the house. First saw the feet, said, "Oh, covered the feet." Mama saw her. She kept quiet, gave me both the names. Mama said, "No, child, I'll give her the English name." Mama was reading the book of Esther when she was pregnant with me. But before that, God gave a message about me that was not understood. And in 2020, in April, the Queen's birthday, the Lord told me to tell them what He meant. Because the person that brought the message died a long time ago. Because God saw me struggling, He wanted my parents to help me in this season. But remember, they're also going through a hard time. But because we have the Word, verse 8 says, Psalms 119, "I shall keep your statutes. Do not utterly abandon me when I fall. When I fail." That was David. But from verse 7 says, "I will give thanks to you with an upright heart when I learn through discipline your righteous judgments for my transgressions." That was David. David sinned. But for us, when we sin, we cover it up, forgive and forget and move on. How do you expect God to come through for us when you're not honest with God? When you've learnt nothing in the Word, you just quote the scriptures. It's like a novel. That's why it has never worked in your life. Verse 9, I taught this when I was in Sunday school. We had a Children's Sunday. On the 28th of this month, we have Proclaim celebrating 10 years. I happen to be a teacher for those kids. Started 2014. 2012, those kids sang, and they ignited the fire of singing and Sunday school in my life. And in 2013, September the 1st, I went back to Namirembe Cathedral. You can imagine, it took me back to the Protestant section. And I sang. And I led one song. My sister's always been singing there. One of Daddy's cousins, Uncle Sandy, is the man behind the gospel music rally in Namirembe Cathedral. He used to work with Bank of Uganda. He retired. I sang. And I remember when I was going for my surgery in October, they put me on the screens of Namirembe Cathedral. and said, one of us is going for surgery. Please pray for her. And everyone that attended service that Sunday, I think they did it on 26, 27. They did it on the 27th of September 2018. Sorry, 13. And on the 2nd of October I was operated. It was a public affair. They asked people in Namirembe Cathedral to pray for me so that I don't die in the theater. I consented my surgery, by the way. My parents never signed anywhere. I told my mom 3 days to surgery because I didn't want her to go through the trauma, because she was from her surgery 2012 in October. 1 year apart, her daughter is going through the same thing that she went through. God gave me friends that stood there for me in an amazing way. I love you, Dr. Brian Chigundu and Christine Chigundu Muwangozi. Nasolo. Nasolo. Let us leave that name. Starts with N, that's what I know. Those guys, Christine met me in 2004 at Chambogo University. She was from Namagunga. She was doing telecom, I was doing environmental engineering. When we got there, when you go to the university, you meet kids from all over. I qualified on government sponsorship with 13 points. I started with people who got 25 points. Some who cheated, who cannot even practice what they studied. And they want to compete with us now. Cheaters, you're losers. I don't care whether you have a PhD and you're Professor so-and-so. Through Christine, I met her family. She took me to her home. Christine, as children, we talked to our parents about our friends. When I went to Christine's home, the late Mwami Muwangozi Samson, the family behind the Lido Beach. You want the biggest system in the country? If you don't call Bishop Mawa, please call Jeff Muwangozi. Go to the Lido Beach and eat some fish. Passcode, Esther Solome. Make sure you go with your wallet. Go eat some good fish with good services and enjoy the breeze on Lake Victoria. Then go to the airport and travel to any country the Lord is telling you. Make sure God is sending you there, because when you come abroad right now, you're gonna curse. And God has not approved it. Come and I help you. God has comforted me in an amazing way. God gave me Christine. We've walked a journey till death. She's one of my close people that knows everything about me that other people don't know. And she has never disclosed my nakedness to anyone. When my father is struggling with his health and my mother, Christine is one of the people that steps in the gap without asking questions. When my family members don't do nothing, they don't even know where we stay, God has given me friends who stick their neck out for me. I serve God and God does my work. Hope you have such a person in your life. Verse 9, how can a young man keep his way pure? By keeping watch on himself according to your word. confirming his life to your percepts. I am sharing my life, my experience with God and man, because I want to help someone out there who is struggling, who is giving up. Please don't give up. I don't want to see any other case of men burning themselves because of the economy. I don't want that. It's so hurting when I see young men who have families burning themselves down to ashes. The economy is not about the president of Uganda. Don't confuse people. It is everywhere. Your MPs don't work. I worked with them, I know. I want the president of Uganda to step down when he's not being bad-mouthed by useless losers. You're hurting, we are all hurting. I wouldn't have gone through what I've gone through if selfish people didn't kill my family members. My grandfathers, both of them were assassinated. You have no idea what I've gone through. I've survived rape in the name of going to work to look for money and take care of my dad. When I have family members who can just call the president and I get a job, who go out to help other kids, who say they can't go to school, they should stop taking care of us. Yet they're doing well because of my great-grandparents. Uganda, I'll teach you with my pain. Trust me. The seat you want, I have it here. Come for it. And if you know that you support homosexuality, you'll never see the seat in Uganda, ever. Newe munasamira. Because ebibatuuseeko singa mbadde musamira nnyo, mwandibikyusizza. I warned Uganda since 2020, and you're not listening. One person gets a problem, then they wake up. You will wake up, all of you, one by one. Don't worry. How can a young man keep his way pure? By keeping watch on himself according to your word, confirming his life to your precepts. With all my heart I have sought you, inquiring of you and longing for you. Do not let me wander from your commandments, neither through ignorance, nor by willful disobedience. Your word I have treasured and stored in my heart. I've kept the word of God in my heart, because the only thing Tata gave me besides taking me to school was the word. Many times I've wanted to give up. Many times you don't know. Young girls out there, please take the word. However long it takes, stick in there. Being a prostitute is not a solution. It's going to spoil your life. Those women fighting in social media, they're going through that. Those are effects of prostitution. Those are effects of prostitution. Failed relationships. They jump from one man to the next. They compete. That is why they sit in social media and fight. Yet they have children. Expose their nakedness. Those are effects of failed relationships. Sleeping from one man to the next. Those are effects of not being loved. Because they don't even have the word of God. Because a man who loves you will keep you no matter what. But because they had sex when it's not yet the time, it spoiled their future. Now they have to prove a point. When a woman loses her virginity and it's not the right time, the effect they get blows the mind away. They lose their innocence. They lose their sense of love. And if they are raped, hey, those women need counseling. Those women are traumatized. I saw my boss sending advances. I was sick. My parents were sick. I asked for an advance of money. He told me he doesn't have money. When I'm seated with him in the car and he has money in his pocket. One time he took me to Mbale to audit a battery. An Indian company making batteries. He took me without warning me. Good enough, my safety shoes were at work. We reached Ginger and he bought me clothes. I told him, before we left, I told him, can you please give me some money? And I sent Mama money. I needed only 90,000 Ugandan shillings. I needed to leave food at home. He said he doesn't have money. I kept quiet. I was the type. When you do things I don't like, I keep quiet. You talk when I'm not answering back. The investor gave us per diem. They got us where to stay when it's not even on the per diem. They gave the money to him. I went, I did the work. I was the type. I accomplished my assignments. I was in my room resting. TV was on. I hear a knock. I say, come in. I was in my clothes. I was in a skirt, lying on my bed watching TV. Knocks, then comes in. I said, what? He said he doesn't have water in his room. I tell him, fine, go and shower. Because me, I work with my teammates, we are free. No other consultant has ever disrespected me to that level. I've worked with men throughout. Women were always few. And what hurt me most is that my workmates, some would give me space to be with him alone because they knew. And they had never talked about things that he's misbehaving with other girls within the environmental area. He touched the wrong girl. He sat on the bed and started touching my legs. I got up. I told him out. He could not believe that I can do that. I did. Yet tomorrow was supposed to go and work. Told him out and locked my door. In the morning, I looked like nothing happened. That is me. I went to work. Nema gave them a certificate. I told God, when I was told to go work there, I asked the Lord, I wanted to work for only 1 year. I wanted out. Because he was my lecturer and he liked me. Helped me with my research. Then told me to go work with him. I refused. I looked for jobs I could not find. I was supposed to start work in February after graduation. I sent his tribemate, who is now a PhD holder. I called, I told her, do you have work? She said no. I told her, you go and work in my place. January, February, March, April, May. I sat home, March, April. When it clocked May, I had to step on my ego and go work. When I sent my friend, he was not happy. But in my mind, I'm like, she's your tribemate. You can deal with each other. I kept quiet and people did not know why I was keeping quiet. He used me to open a farm, a chicken farm in Mukono. We went and got 2,000 birds. I made sure the farm is operational and running. I used what I learned from home with Mama. The first, what you call the first fruit when it came, he brought 3 trays of eggs and gave my colleagues. I did not get. Welcome to my club. If I didn't know Christ, abantu bakutanga ne scholarships nga tebampa links. Omu n'afuna n'agenda e UK n'asoma. When nasindika yagenda akole in my place, went to Dad. When she started working, she was given a job in Chambogo to lecture. Then applied to Dad. She got a scholarship to go to German. That is now stepping in Esther's shoes. That is what happens. When I went to Dad, when I decided to go back to school, and Dr. Paul Segawa, my teammate now, my team leader with geotaxon, told me, Esther, in 2010, I was going through a hard time. I was dumped after 4 months in a relationship. I was crying. Dr. Segawa came to office because I used to sit with Nkutu, just the 2 of us. He comes to office and looks at me. He married my OG Sunday school. Looks at me like this. I met him through work. And he said, Esther, you're a young girl and very beautiful. Because he asked me why I was crying. I told him. And I'm like, I just want to talk to my friend and ask him why he ended the relationship. He told me, Esther, you want that young man to assure you that he doesn't love you? That is Dr. Paul Segawa. When someone is crying, you give them some tough love to straighten them up. I looked at him, wiped my tears. He told me, Esther, you're beautiful, you're young. Go back to school and study. I went back to do a master's in renewable energy because of Dr. Paul Segawa. Because he's an academician. He's a PhD holder in MOOC, who has taught very many in forestry. He even went to Rwanda and taught. He gave me money to apply. But before, he told me to go home and relax and rest, to put myself together. I called Pastor Victor James Luwama. He's my key. I got to meet him through the woman or the lady. She died long time ago. She died in 2004. I was at the university. The one who attended to my mother when they gave birth to me, Jaja Nora. She was coming from Nangabo. She's the one who took my parents in the drama group to Nangabo. By then it was Nangabo Christian Fellowship. Now it's Miracle Center Fellowship. He physically met me in 1998. We had a conference. Kaboa has the 25th conference, annual conference, starting on the 28th of this month. I met him through a conference, 1998, physically. I was going to join Senior 1. Those conferences used to be in January. He looked at me and told me, young girl, pray for your job and your husband. I looked at him like this, and in my mind I'm like, this man is telling me to pray for my job and my husband. I thought he's going to tell me to pray for my school. I started seeing him from that day, and the Lord told him, I've given you the keys for that girl's life. I am in the US because that man opened the key, the door for me. Ask the Lord why you meet people. Some of them are keys to the doors you're supposed to enter in. all he's done in my life is to open amazing doors. But how is that going to happen when you're walking right with the Lord? I am one girl who has recommended people open doors for different people. Doors of marriage, giving birth, jobs, ministry. That is how God works. That is only gonna work in your life if you know the word and you walk in the word. But as of now, keep struggling. Those are words that came in the season. You decided to join the struggle. Hours of a view. You join the men and women who read the word of God. With God, you don't struggle, you strategize. Hope you have a strategy to be able to climb higher on top of the water and swim. Because the waves on the sea, they are killing people. I warned you to stay away from water, especially River Nile. Anything to do with Lake Victoria, Lake Naluvali, I told you to stay away. I warned you. Before the Miracle Center kids, the teens, before they got to their accident, I said stay away from the water. The season is bad. You don't listen. You don't share my classes. You stay with it. Some of you don't appear on your pages because I'm one person. Some of you, you quarrel, don't tag me. Then I find people dying in your houses. And you come out and say, it was their time. Who says? Because it is not you. And some of you people's death, you're using it as an scapegoat, using politics to get back at Museveni. People are mourning their loved ones. And you're coming out. Mukakoza was killed by his wife. Are you stupid? Do you know how those people are hurting? Do you know that their wedding was supposed to stay in the UK? But the man has stayed away for some time and he wanted to enjoy. Because this season we all want to go back home. I was coming home. And the Lord told me not to in 2020. The late Michael Kasolo Chigozi booked for my air ticket in Feb 2020. I gave him my credit card because I had never done it and I didn't want to make mistakes, and he was good with IT. I don't need to beg my friends to help me. Michael treasured the kind of friend I am because I stood in the gap when his so-called friends in California were destroying his name. And I stuck my neck out for 5 years. When he became homeless, he wanted to take his life several times. And I stood in there and I told him, Michael, you cannot. You have children. Don't leave a bitter taste in their mouth. He got to know me after an accident he made himself when he was drunk. The car was spoiled. Michael walked out alive. And in May this year, Michael was hit and run. He crossed the road to go back home after a party. And I had warned him to stay away from alcohol, to stay away from Ugandan parties. Because I know the devil is always waiting for us to take you back in the things that destroy you. Because he went into a depression. And some people, when they get depressed, they run to the bottle. Michael knew the word. Michael came to the US when he's saved. but the groups we join. When many people leave the country, they join clubs, they start drinking alcohol. Pastors' kids are into alcohol, please. And they lie to their parents. And some of the parents know. They say, Esther Solome mukuru akole nga wayagala. The devil wants to take you back and connect you to the wrong channels in your family. Every time, because I was monitoring him, I knew his problem. When Esther soaks in her own problems, the devil attacks so bad. Because I'm a watchman, I watch over Uganda. The devil, what he does is to attack and punch me so bad. Because when I'm sick, when I frown, I go back inside and I coil. I cover myself with my sickness. When I have no one to take me to hospital. When I have no one to give me a bottle of water. I told the devil enough is enough. I will crawl. I don't see people die aimlessly in Uganda. The Lord told me if I don't do what He brought me here, I'll be taken back. And my family members cannot help. 6 years with no job. The only thing they'll do when we're having parties and expose me to their friends. The girl did environmental engineering, but when she has no job. And in my mind, you know me, when people are talking, I'm talking it back inside. That is why when this season came and I talk back, it is a fire. And the Lord told me, Esther, Jeremiah chapter 15 and verse 19. Because I was becoming poison. Instead of restoration, I was just fermenting and looking like alcohol. The Bible says, omwenge mulekanya ate mukudazi ntunulira abatamiivu bakudaala n'okanula amaaso n'ogatuli kuki. The Bible said it. Omutamiivu olowooza kikyagenda okukolera, agenda kukudaalira bukudaalizi. You know you don't read the word. I don't need to beg anyone to go see my dad. I don't need to beg anyone to go pray for my dad. I don't need to beg people to call me or talk to me when I'm sick. But trust me, I know how to pray. I know how to pat myself on the back. And I tell Esther, you will be fine, it is well. When my usual teams, sometimes they don't have data. Sometimes they're at work or busy with their families. And when they see my missed calls, they send messages back or call back. I pat myself on the back. I hug myself. It is the Lion of Judah. My parents taught me. I hide here and I practice the word. So that I don't soak in my misery and I stop and I terminate God's work in people's lives. Because when Esther goes silent, problems run very fast. Last year when I went silent, my friends that I used to monitor were taken to prison. They met the wrong culprits. People got problems. Simply because Esther went silent. That is the impact I carry when I walk with God. Hope you get to that level one day too. Because when I relaxed and gave Michael time, because I knew we were getting out of the bad season, he had gone back to school, he's done with school, he has a job, we have a car. I contributed to 2 of his cars. He no longer sleeps outside. He doesn't have to beg people to house him. His kids, now the documents are almost finished. His back stability as a man. Because when a man has no job, when a man has no papers abroad, it is misery. The girl who was supposed to give him documents refused, gave him children, a child. Michael got his own green card. He was good. In March, Michael wrote and said, Lord, I'll never play with you again. Use me as an example to the youth abroad. And that is the day Michael died. He gave up. Because he was going through a lot as a man. Yet he was preparing to go back home, get married, pick his kids, and come back to the US. Young men abroad, you who are giving birth east, left, right, and center, what have you left your kids? Do they have a start? Are you with the mother of the kids? How is co-parenting? Because lately it's the in thing. I'm not attacking anyone. I've been teaching these things when you don't attend. Me, I want to end the era of kids whose parents are not together. I want to end the era of married women not liking the kids of the man. You girls, men, when you find a girl, tell her the truth that you have children. If she cannot handle the fact that you have children, let her move forward. And you men, when you're already married, put your altars together. I never told you to go marry that girl when you're not ready. Because the kids are struggling. Make the right decisions. Forgive one another. Use the word of God. Men, you're the high priest of the altar. Read the word of God and focus. Follow only Christ until submission. Colossians chapter 3. Educate yourself. Verse 11, Psalms 119. When we had Children's Sunday in Kawawa many years ago, I was the one chose to preach that day. And I taught from Psalms 119, verses 9. I remember words disappeared and I looked at everyone in church. Then I looked back in my Bible. Because they used to ask our parents to help us with the word. Now my dad is seated there and my mama is seated the other side at the back. Sunday school teachers are watching, the pastors are watching, the kids are watching me. Now I froze. Trust me, I preached and finished. I am one kid who was always active in church. We had competitions and I would enter any competition and I won for Kawawa Redeemed Church of Christ. I went to Nairobi because of Sunday school in 1998. Competed with the white kids, with Nairobi kids from Tanzania. We were near Thika. I remember I fainted because of the cold. I went with Priscilla Naroga, Regina, and Eva Chamba de Chimera. Their parents had the money. Me, people had to kusonda. Mami Suga, Nimchala Chamba, they brought some money. Tata gave some. And I was taken because I was active in Sunday school. Miracle Center, other churches could not afford to give us their children to go. So we represented Uganda, the three of us. You also represented Uganda. I've always represented Uganda. I am representing Uganda now, the way I did in 1998. Those kids who could read the Bible, and I'm like, Mama, One time in Chireka we competed. Games, taking soda. I stood on the podium with kids from other churches. You see where there is a cigar company in Chireka, as it's taking you back to Chambogo. When Chireka Miracle Center is down, when you pass there, you go to the Nambole Stadium. I audited those places. I audited that cigar company there when I went to work. The churches I stepped in while in Sunday school, I went back and did environmental impact assessment and audits. And when we are doing sociology, we look at all the stakeholders around. I've been on your pulpits through work and Sunday school. And most of your churches don't qualify. And I warned you that government is going to come. And you start saying, government don't want that. You don't qualify in the laws. I come out to warn you and tell you do an impact assessment and audit so that no one touches your church. Make sure you don't pollute the environment, the air, water, and earth by your activities as a church, because you'll be closed down. Jesus told the Pharisees that give what belongs to Caesar, and what belongs to God, to God. You're not above the law. Understand the law. They gave a soda and they gave me a Coca-Cola bottle. The only time I put the bottle down is when the soda is done, and I was the best. Nothing dropped, but it was bubbling inside. I made sure I take off, and I brought it back. I didn't want to spill it on any child. Verse 11, your word I have treasured and stored in my heart, that I may not sin against you. Now you don't have the word of God. Sin kusini. Enjoy. Blessed and reverently praised are you, O Lord. Teach me your statutes. With my lips I have told of all the ordinances of your mouth. I have rejoiced in the way of your testimonies. As much as in all riches I will meditate on your precepts and thoughtfully regard your ways, the path of life established by your precepts. I will delight in your statutes. I will not forget your word. Deal bothfully with your servant, that I may live and keep your word, treasuring it and being guided by it day by day. Open my eyes to spiritual truth, so that I may behold wonderful things from your law. I am a stranger on the earth. Do not hide your commandments from me. If I did not get the background of the word, starting from home, charity begins at home. Teachers teach us, but our parents are supposed to help us to put in practice. Parents, on Sunday, do you ask your child what they studied? Do you help them throughout the week? All of you come from homes where your father or mother instilled the word of God in your hearts. How many times have you practiced it? How many times have you shared it with your friends? You're free to do what you want. It's your life at the end of the day. A coffin takes only one person. Sorry, emergency. Let me come back. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? I don't want to leave the place empty. I apologize. Let me leave you someone either singing or sorry about that. Excuse me. You can link in his bio and you get the song. Before I go ahead with the garment, I want to read you something here. George Washington, the leader. Washington was America's first and utterly indispensable national hero. He was not a great orator like Patrick Henry or a gifted thinker like James Madison, and he could not write stirring prose like Thomas Jefferson or enduring maxims like Ben Franklin. But when the state electors gathered in 1789 to select America's first president, there was no question about whom they would select. They voted anonymously for George Washington. The earliest years of Washington's life hardly suggested such an exalted outcome. His great-grandfather immigrated from England to Virginia in 1657, and the family apparently did reasonably well. Though little is known about Washington's heritage, before his father, Augustine, an enterprising sort, who purchased considerable land and several mills, in addition to investing in the early stages of the iron industry. He was prosperous enough to send his eldest two sons by his first wife to England for their education. But by the time of George's birth to his second wife, Mary Ball, in 1732, circumstances had changed and George's education was largely informal. He attended school irregularly between the ages of 7 and 15 and received occasional tutoring from the local church, sexton, and a school teacher named Williams. Augustine died in 1743 when George was just 11, and his relationship with his domineering mother, troubled from the start, became even more full of conflict and disagreement. Fortunately, George's kindly, much older half-brother Lawrence took over his care, and George spent his adolescent years living, for the most part, with Lawrence and his gracious wife, Anne Fairfax Washington, at the home Lawrence built on 2,500 acres, blessed with marvelous views of the Potomac River. I stay in Virginia, and I see these things every time I get time to move around. I stay in Virginia, but in Arlington. Arlington is a city that has government things. If you don't have documents, you cannot stay where I stay. You have to be working with the World Bank, the UN, or working with the army, or you are in the university, or working with government in any sort. Without documents, you cannot stay where I stay. I stay in the upscale area. I was going to move. The Lord told me never to move until He says so. On 2,500 acres blessed with marvelous views of Potomac River, Lawrence named the estate Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon, there is a train station. If you ever come to Virginia, within Arlington, Springfield, Annandale, Fairfax, please take the train to Shady Grove, to Glenmont, to Friendship Heights. There are different areas. You take the train, you'll enjoy the U.S., trust me. It will take you to the borders of Maryland and Virginia, of Virginia and D.C. I stay on the borders. Sadly for George, who came to view his half-brother as a second dad and a more loving one than his biological father, Lawrence died in 1752. Do you see his childhood? The terms of his will dedicated that Mount Vernon should go to his only child, Sarah, and then to her children after her death. That was Lawrence. But Sarah died childless just 2 years after her father, and the will stipulated that in that event the estate should go to George. That is how some of the kids in the world are taking over people's inheritances. By that time, George had proved himself adept as a land surveyor. He was also a land surveyor. In Mengo Senior School, my house was George, and they named George House after this man. He was born on the 22nd in February. That's his birthday. He became the official surveyor for Prt2 County in 1749. In addition to learning as much as he could, many children whose parents are in line with leadership, at least they should have, they made sure they had someone who understood land issues. My grandfather was part of that. And in my father's house, we have 2 people who understand land issues. So you'll come and tell us all your stories, and we will look at you. The firstborn and the lastborn, you don't confuse us when it comes to land issues. We have a land surveyor, a land valuer, who was trained by Knight Frank when the Ugandans cannot train her because they don't know her father. Knight Frank took her in and trained her Mambo Yote. Later went to work with KCCA as a trainee in human resource. An opening came in lands. She applied and got in. When I was short with finances, she took on my responsibility at home in 2019. When she graduated recently, I reached out to my friend who I know can help us. They said they would call. They've never called. Which friends I helped when they had trouble with jobs. And I'm like, wow, how lovely is your dwelling place, Almighty God. If we didn't know Christ, I, Esther Solome, I was going to disappear. Two areas I, Esther Solome, several times have put on hold my own problems that you don't even know. Because you've never bothered to know who I am. That's why you're shocked by the kind of person I am. By my history. Because if you love someone, I am the type I visit people. I know their parents, I know their homes, I know their husbands, I know their wives, I know their children, whether they are working or not. And when I do that in your life and you stabilize, I wait for the next person. I've done that for years and I'll continue doing it for the glory of His name. In addition to learning as much as he could about agriculture and livestock management, two areas of expertise that would become central to his life after he took ownership of Mount Vernon. Over the next 20 years, Washington devoted much of his energy to the development of the estate, expanding it to 8,000 acres, carefully planted and rotating crops, and managing the 10 slaves. And when you try to attack my family, that you're bewitching the kids. We've gone through that. Someone said we can study, but no jobs, no marriage, and person is in the family. Please give your lives to Christ. My aunties who go into witchcraft, so that I don't see a day. I have seen it for 37 years, and I'm continuing. I'll not do a fire back because your children are innocent. I don't work like you. I've seen all of you, you love your children and your grandchildren. Please make sure before you die, you give your lives to Christ, so that you leave a better foundation for your children and your grandchildren, because they're going to eat the bitter fruits of the seeds you've planted all over the world. It's not my doing. I am warning you. God is taking care of us in an amazing way. You're getting shocked and surprised that the places you thought you're seated and you're big, I have a hand in them. And I have the key now to Uganda. That is what God does when we walk right with the Lord. We don't engage mwabizayo. I don't want to be poisoned. Ekyatuka kwabizayo mwakimanya temwakimanya good. Washington's views. Over the next 20 years, Washington devoted much of his energy to the development of the estate. You see, God gives him an estate of his big brother first, before he gave him the US. You're supposed to train first. God has to first give you, entrust you with small, then we give you big. But some of you want a big when you've not managed the small. This is serious. You don't help anyone and you want to be a leader in 2026, and you want us to pray for you Because you will come out and say, the Bible says pray for the leaders. Are you praying for the current leaders? Please sow some seeds. Sowing some seeds is very important. Please don't sow beans and expect to get apples. Sent you plenty. Over the next 20 years, Washington devoted much of his energy to the development of the estate, expanding it to 8,000 acres, carefully planting and rotating crops, and managing the 10 slaves that came along with it. Washington's view on slavery evolving through the years were overwhelmingly negative. He refused to sell his slaves for fear of breaking up families. For you, you're just selling us to Dubai through your companies, right? Then I see someone has the guts of telling Museveni to use the Airbus to go and pick up the girls and boys who went to Bibakadam. When they were leaving the nation, did they ask for permission? Do you know that they lied? When you're blaming Museveni for the situation in Dubai, I want you to read this book. Amin gave you up. He took money and he did not bring the Sharia law. Now you're paying with your lives. Don't make a noise for us. You did not ask for permission to go to Dubai. You lied that you want to be teachers so that you get Interpol letters. When you lie, that is sin. You took yourselves. I didn't see anyone go to the State House and say, President Museveni, please, I don't have a job in Uganda. Can I please go to Dubai? Did I ask for permission to leave the country? I watched young girls and boys lie at the Interpol. When Officer Kasije was still there, he signed my paper. I have a copy here. I was there. I witnessed everything. Kids wrote letters. Some don't even know how to write. They kept on changing handwritings here and there. I looked at these stupid kids. Now things are bad for them in Dubai. Museveni! Really? Your people in your churches, in your families, in the music industry, have companies that have taken you to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia. And when things go south for you, they just fold hands and look at you. Then you come out and abuse Museveni. And then you say you want jobs at the embassy. Please, get some laws that govern that nation. They are supposed to give work to the natives. You're not a native. You don't have a document that shows that you are from Abu Dhabi. Here in the US, I cannot go to the embassy and I say I'm working in the embassy. They should give me a job. Mbake ekikyama. Pozinga sakola. As an investor, you hire the locals who have certificates or a document that signifies that they are citizens. So Ugandans, please go and read the laws and regulations that govern the countries you're seated in. Temweswaza. Anti muli bamusomo gwalema. That is unfortunate. When you go back home to Uganda, go to Nema. We have a huge book of laws and regulations that govern Uganda. Investors have rules. They come with their own workers from their countries and they hire locals. You're going to find Spanish people working at the Ugandan embassy because those are rules. If the Ugandan embassy does not obey, they can kick them out. Mutujeko obunafu bw'obwongo. Those are rules that govern nations. Naye onobitegeerera wanga toli mu leadership. Tojja kubitegeera kati kambayambe. Here refused to sell his slaves. For us, you're selling us. That young man, James Kiyo, was selling me off. He's been doing that through music. Nalaba ebifaananyi nga line Pastor Bugembe. Mbwaleeta abayimbi ba gospel n'abalala baleetera through music. He touched the wrong girl. Everyone who touches me the wrong way, they get a punch from God. My boss got a punch. His own baby mama burnt him. She was taken to prison. The next I found her, ngali wa musumba Tom kulujegere nga agudde eddalu. I cried. This lady used to work with MTN Uganda. That day we went to Mbala and were coming back, I was being promised that I'm being taken to the new house, Kalina. Kumba mchala ali atulabye ku office. Bantu makunema. Secretary n'ayomba. Ne nkomaawo ne bambuza. Ne mugamba, I don't work in Nema when his wife is watching, and I did it intentionally. When she saw that, she sensed, because she knew her partner. There is a chick in Nema. When the man is drunk, she would call the woman at home. I look at girls and you're stupid. You're with someone's man. Those were high school sweethearts. Mukati weraga gw'omulina. Tamulina magezi. Oli ali eri atamidde yeebase. Kiri kikwata essimu. Okubira otya mama w'abaana in the middle of the night nga gw'olina omusajja we. Madame packed her things and entered the house. Tugenda otuukayo. Nga madame yasenguse. Yamanya nti ono waakomerawo atwala omukazi omulala mu nju. Olaawe ngenda okufuuka victim. Those are things I kept quiet about. I was promised things and I looked at this man and I'm like, do you think I'm stupid? I might be poor, but I serve a big God. Young men that have companies, stop using kids. The woman in Nema complained, the secretary to the ED. Yamalirako obusungu bwe yandimumaliddeko n'embulya. Namala nanneetondera. Baamwokya amazzi. I left the company. I was told to write a resignation letter. I refused. I said I was never given a contract. I said, I'm sick. Can you please pay me? And I go take care of myself. People were like, you can't leave work when you don't have a job. I told them, watch me. I got home and kept quiet. It was a Friday. Saturday morning. Grrr. Esther. Yes, please. Are you free today? I'm like, of course. We are going to audit Mahara Coca-Cola. Are you ready? I'm like, of course. Where are you guys? We are just leaving Makere. Find me at Kavusu. That was my first project. When I resigned the following day, started working with another company. Respect me, I will respect you. I don't have respect for rapists. Because when you force yourself on a girl, your name is a rapist. I hide you and then what? You did not die because of me. Never forget that in your head. I was sent an email and I was told, you girl, you can kill someone. I said, why? What did I do? Because when I was asked whether I'm working, I said, no, I'm home. When I'm seated in my caring office like this. When they burnt him water, they took him to Novik. I went to visit, to pray for him. He looked at me when he was in the net where they put my grandmother when she got burnt. Omubiyita ombwati. She died in 2010, in July. Fire burnt her. She loved cooking. She was a perfectionist. And she was bent. She told one of my cousins to make the charcoal stove. The wife to Jaja Mwebe. Jaja Mwebe was the one in the car with Jaja Kalibala when they got an accident on their way to Mbara to get schools for my uncles and aunties. He was 96 when he died in 2011. She died in 2010. A year apart, my grandfather also dies. He's the only man I saw as a grandfather, but I saw him when he's blind. If he was alive, he would be blind for 34 years, the age of my brother. Jaja turns with, you know how old women dress up. She was in a kitengi, but inside, because they want to feel warm. Because when you grow old, your body loses heat. Ayambadde, you know how they dress up, aina petticoat empanvu, amanyi abo abakyala abambeja. Now she's turning around, nga babeera eri ekkabuuso. Near, before you reach there is a house here. After the school, as you're going back, before the marketplace, there was a house in there in the gate. Jaja used to stay there. And that house, now there is a big hotel. Where there is a big hotel, that is my other grandmother's land. The mother to the first 2 children of Kalibala. Then the next house in the gate, that is where Jaja Mwebe and his wife, Omubito Elizabeth, used to stay. They met in school. She was a nurse. Jaja was a veterinary doctor. As she was moving, her clothes touching the sigiri. And for her, she's moving. Kumbe the sigiri was on fire. You know when the charcoal stove is doing the sparks. Her dress catches fire. Jaja does not know. The petticoat, everything. Jaja was burnt so bad. Now this man also, he was burnt. I went to Novik to look at him. He told me, "You girl, you can kill someone." I just smiled and I said, "Kill you how?" I prayed for him and the Lord healed him for him to see today. Don't you ever touch anyone carrying a king's blood. And lately, don't touch a human being. Makere was burnt because we have kings who never graduated because lecturers decide to be very wise. Use our things, get what they want, and they think they can go free. Makere got burnt when I'm here. When I saw it, I just kept quiet. And wasn't it burnt in 2020? I saw it and I looked to the other side and I'm like, okay. We don't do anything. The Bible says, touch not the anointed. Go find out who is anointed. And teachers come out to bagala kubongeza musala. When you're sleeping with people's kids to give them marks, they do those things in secondary school. Kids are not passing, they are failing in school, and you want a big salary for what? And the Prime Minister asked you that thing, but you never answered back. The challenge was to increase the salary for science teachers. They were all supposed to get, because sciences and arts work together. Unless you don't know how it works, I'll teach you, don't worry. Carefully planting, and yeah, we've read that. He refused to sell his slaves for fear of breaking up families. When Chidiowa touched me, He lost his citizenship here. He lost his marriage. He was taken to Italy. I gave him my money, and it was supposed to be for my dad. He refused to pay it. His marriage ended without me raising a thing. The man he brought to sell me to, he touched the wrong person. You don't waste people's money because of documents. Don't be a fool next time. He lost his marriage. You don't touch my father's house anyhow. You've been touching different people and destroying their lives. And when he brings your daughter, then he sells him off. And when you report him, they'll take you back. He would scare you and report you into the officials, and they take you back. He did that to different people. Now he comes to touch me so that they use my green card to pass his agenda. I want the people that I met through to know him, because they lied to me that they have a job for me. They did not know that I walk with God. When I found out the details of that boy's bad manners, I warned the family I was staying with. Instead, they used it against me. Yet it's me who warned them. Then I was called from Uganda. How I talk about people at church, telling them that they're trying to get me a man. I was like, I love the way people report their information. It's me who warned them. Now I'm the bad one, right? Never ever hear news from the US or any country through the phone and you don't have evidence and you blame people for things you don't know. You touched the wrong girl. God sent me to your houses for a reason. And when my work was done, I had to leave. And I asked the Lord to open a door, and I leave. And he did. Commotion came, and the building threw me out. Family members, careful when you're fighting wars that are not yours. He refused to sell his slaves for fear of breaking up families. I am principled against this kind of traffic in human species. Chidiowa was doing human trafficking. And I was protecting them so that the government of the US does not find out that he's attached to them, because he was using their address. Because they would be thrown out of the US. I stuck my neck out to protect people. Because most of you are not informed. I was asked, why do I know stuff about Uganda? Why don't I let go? Yet I told them when I had just come. All that was forgotten. I'm glad when the government touched him to lose his citizenship, he did not fall a victim. I am principled against this kind of traffic in the human species, he said, and he was renewed as an unusually benevolent master. In his will, he directed that all his slaves should be freed after the death of his wife. She chose to free them all in 1800. The year after George's death, Washington's marriage in 1759 to a wealthy widow, Martha Dandridge Curtis, brought him additional funds, increased lands, some 15,000 acres. Before God gave Washington to the US, he managed his brother's land, which was 2,000, 5,000 acres, which he multiplied to 8,000 acres. Now he's increasing it to 15,000 acres. God opened doors for him because of the things he did for the slaves. Slaves came from Africa. Immigrants, you don't know the power you have. When you learn it, you stop looking useless. And most important to his emotional health, 2 young stepchildren whom he loved with all his heart, John, known as Jackie, and Martha Prt2, 6 and 4, respectively, at the time of the marriage. He would lavish attention on them both until, in what was surely the worst tragedies in a life filled with them, Prt2 died in 1773 after years of what may have been epileptic seizures, and Jackie died, probably of typhus, soon after the British surrender at Yorktown in 1781. Into the spotlight, as much as Washington enjoyed his experience as father and farmer. Now, Washington's great-grandfather came from England. Washington was an immigrant through his great-grandfather. We don't have real Americans. The real Americans are red Indians. You're all immigrants. Into the spotlight, as much as Washington enjoyed his experience as father and farmer, founding fathers, the enduring legacy of American freedom. What's your legacy like? A legacy is your lifestyle. It's not a business. Sorry to bust your bubble. As much as Washington enjoyed his experience as father and farmer, he also showed an interest in the more public life from an early age. A leader starts when they are young. The Lord told my parents that he has given them a leader for a firstborn. No one knew that I took over Kabeja. No one. But Nachimera knew. And she left orders for me. When she told them to take care of my dad and us, she was protecting me. But she did not come out clean. Because she knew if she came out clean, death was going to knock. Because she knew the wars in the family from the different kings. Her mother had told her she was the firstborn. Let me first read for you something from the friend George Mason. George Mason was a neighbor and a friend to George Washington's. Thomas Jefferson described him as the wisest man of his generation. What do your friends describe you as? Omuwemuzi, omutamiivu, omukwasi w'abakazi, ow'olugambo. That is how your friends term you. Omukodo, user. Continue. Man snatcher, thief, woman snatcher. Okay. The wisest man of his generation. In the Bible, Solomon was the wisest and viewed him as a mentor throughout his career. He held few official positions. He served in the Virginia House of Burghers along with Washington and was a representative to the Constitution Convention in 1787. But his influence on the principles that guided the nation's founding is undeniable. In 1776, he drafted the Virginia Declaration of Rights, one of the first documents to assert the fundamental doctrine of inalienable human rights, a theme that reappeared as a cornerstone of Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, drafted later that year. Unusual for white men in Virginia, he was an opponent of slavery through much of his life, describing it as disgraceful to mankind. We are the results of black or white. We caused that through slave trade. You cannot blame the white man. Africa, because you love money, you sold your own, and we got a product, a black American, omuchotala all over the world, and they don't know their history. Some come from Jamaica, some come from India, Africa, and they are bitter because Africa has never asked for forgiveness, but blames it on the white man. The white man played his part by paying you. And we took it to the next level. Even up to today, we still practice slave trade amongst ourselves. They bring you nokola mu nyumba y'omuna Uganda wano nga maid kadama, and they mistreat you and throw you out. Family members have done it to each other, especially women. You are a problem in the US. When a woman hates you, you're in trouble. Here in the US, women speak more than men. If you ever want to be a friend to the man, whether they are family members or your OBs or OGs, please make his wife your friend. When you want to talk to your friend, please talk to his wife. When I was thrown out of the house in Norrinsville, I was told never to call her husband. Yet I got to know her through the husband's family. Welcome to my world abroad. Yet they requested me to come and help them. Take care of their baby girl, Abigail. 1 week and 3 days, I left that girl drinking 8 ounces, which she could barely make. Sleep was a problem. She would go for 2 hours. They did not understand the speed at which a preemie is growing. They did not know that I carried God. My work was done there. The Lord wanted me to touch that baby for only that short time, because people love diverting God's work in our lives. Hence the isolation now. Read Genesis 12, it will help you. It is a painful process, but I have to go through it, because if I terminate it, I'm in trouble. There is no gold that comes out without going through the fire. In 1776, he drafted the Virginia Declaration of Rights, one of the first documents to assert the fundamental doctrine of alienable human rights. That's why on our green cards they put that I'm an alien, because I come from another planet, which people never understood when I taught the class of immigration. I will bring it back. Someone boldly told me how I called her kids aliens. And I'm like, this is it. Your green card has, you're an alien. Alien means someone coming from a foreign planet. You're watching the wrong movies. A cornerstone of Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, drafted later that year. Unusual for white men in Virginia, he was an opponent of slavery through much of his life, describing it as disgraceful to mankind and resisting any compromise that enabled its continuancy. At the Constitution Convention, he urged for the specific protection of individual rights and opposed the final document. He was one of 3 delegates who refused to vote for it, as vesting excessive amounts of power in the hands of the central government at the expense. He felt of the rights of local government and individual citizens. His views were highly influential in the drafting and passage of the U.S. Bill of Rights in 1791. He died the following year, possibly from pneumonia, at the age of 66. At the age of what? Louder, please. 66. Lord, help my dad make 66. And we go to 67. In Jesus' name I believe and pray. Amen. The age 66. In 2020, in March, when Floyd was killed, I told people, please, don't sing black or white. There is nothing like black or white. The main problem is slave trade. They refused. At that time, these things were brought. I bought this as a point of contact. They were brought to us and we were told that we use them as masks. When you go into rioting, I am going to tie my face. How will you know that it's me? Please tell me. This is a rioting lifestyle. We were initiated into rioting. Do you know how many people have died since Floyd? When I saw these, I want people here. I told them that's a slave trade mentality that is killing. That is not black or white. They refused. After some time, I saw the Senate discussing slave trade again. Yet Billy Graham won them. Do you know that Billy Graham won them? Sometimes I posted it. You did not see it. Go to the Billy Graham page, you'll find it. I told them this is not a mask for COVID. This is initiation into rioting. States rioted. My state, we were closed off because we stay with very many veterans, very many old people who have worked with government. The Pentagon is my side. The Army-Navy Drive, where they bury the Army guys, is my side. They cut off the borders. The trucks you saw for the Army, they sent them here. They used to come to my store wearing different colors. They are things I had never seen. I had only seen them in movies. I watched my own movies at work. They would send spies. And I touched my cheek like this. It was mesmerizing. I was like, I've only watched these things in the movies. Hey, I am living a movie now. Michigan vote. Minnesota. Guys, you're the one who sees the news. I don't see the news. I just know that they are going through fire. I'll take pictures when I get the time and I send you and you read for yourself and your families who don't have Facebook and YouTube. In the spotlight, as much as Washington enjoyed his experience as father and farmer, he also showed an interest in a more public life from an early age, intrigued by tales of glory recounted by Lawrence and other family members. He was determined to add military service to his rapidly growing resume. I am one person who has been trained outside the palace. I know how to use the gun. You'll be surprised how I'm good with politics. Anything that governs the nation, I am good. I am one person who educates myself, who loves knowing. I don't just come here with an empty head. I don't use hearsays. I won't come and tell you things in the newspapers, in the media. Whatever is happening in the media, I told you from 2020 to date. Everything you've seen, whether sports, anything that governs the earth, those who have been following know what I'm talking about. Intrigued by tales of glory recounted by Lawrence and other family members, he was determined to add military service to his rapidly growing resume. He undertook his first assignment in 1753 at the age of 21. Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Robert Dunwoody sent him, along with an interpreter, expert guide Christopher Gist, and 4 others, including 2 experienced traders with the local Native American tribes, on what was supposedly a diplomatic mission to persuade the French to withdraw from disputed territory in the Ohio Valley, claimed by Great Britain as its own. Despite difficult wintry conditions, Washington and his crew reached their destination safely. The French commander firmly rebuffed his overture, declaring, according to Washington, that it was their absolute design to take possession of the Ohio, and by God they would do it. But the return journey almost killed him. Washington wrote things like, "Decline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable, procures success to the weak, and esteem to all." It's something he said here that you wrote. However, political parties may now and then answer popular ends. They are likely in the course of time and things to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people. Then there is something else here he wrote. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. He was shot at the Indians, nearly drowned in the Allegheny River, and barely avoided freezing to death before making his way back to Williamsburg. But his courage in the face of these tribulations impressed his superiors, and over the course of the following 5 years, during what came to be called the French and Indian War, he would prove his mentor again and again, most notably in the British defeat at the Fort Duquesne in present-day Pittsburgh in July 1755. His mentor, General Edward Braddock, was killed during the encounter, and Washington himself had 2 horses shot out from under him, and 4 bullets passed through his clothing without injuring him. His exceptional bravery and disregard for his own safety enabled the British to retreat successfully. It was also during 3 years that Washington developed a skill for bold surprise attacks, a tactic that would produce some of his most notable victories during the Revolutionary War. In 1758, he was elected to Virginia's House of Burghers. Burgess says, the body sanctioned by the British to represent the colonials. But in the years to come, like his fellow founding fathers, he came to resent the increasingly oppressive hand of British rule. Ugandans, you're crying about the colonials. They did not only take on you, they did the US, that you think it is a superpower. Get your information right. Then make noise. He was in attendance for Patrick Henry's stirring introduction of resolutions opposing the Stamp Act in 1765, and when Virginia chose its 7 delegates to the First Continental Congress in 1774, Washington was selected. Like most Americans at the time, he still did not consider independence as a likely solution, but he had become more radical than most in his view of British intransigency. While others continued to hold out hope for diplomatic initiatives, Washington was convinced that stern action, even if commercial, as opposed to military warfare, was the preferred course. Shall we after this whine and cry for relief, he wrote, when we have already tried it in vain? When events in Boston escalated to the point of open rebellion and increased demands for independence, Washington declared his readiness to fight if need be. I will raise 1,000 men, he declared, substitute them at my own expense, and march myself at their head for the relief of Boston. Soon after, armed conflict broke out in Livingston and Concord. In April 1775, Washington was named the commander-in-chief of all the American forces. The brilliancy of this choice was only clear in retrospect. Through John Adams, Washington's most influential supporter for the post, saw in the imposing figure of Washington a man possessed not only of exceptional leadership skills, but also a figure whose Virginian heritage and outspoken support for the Patriots in Massachusetts made him an ideal commander. Remember, he's fighting his great-grandfather, Britain. He writes, experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession. When you are in warfare in church, you go to the devil's camp. When the devil comes to your camp, you are in trouble. And when you go for spiritual warfare, wear your army uniform and make sure it is completely full. Your back, your chest, your waist, your hands, your head, and your shoes are covered. Make sure your faith is on a higher level. Never go for spiritual warfare when you don't have a breastplate, when you don't have a belt to hold your trousers. The army uniform is gonna come. Brace yourself. I told you I'm taking the battle to the devil's camp. I stopped allowing the devil to come to my camp. I move. I'll stop there for now. We will continue with him because there is a lot about him that is very interesting. I see people making noise about politics and all other things, but they don't have the real information. And I don't know who gives you the information that you just Google. I see the young kids in social media making noise for us. They're British, and I'm like, Washington, his great-grandfather comes from Britain. I want you to have your facts. Don't look stupid in society. Losers abuse. Losers badmouth. Losers destroy reputations. We've all seen that in social media. They come out with wrong information and they stick to it. And I'm like, you also want to be a leader. Hey, Maui. You say wrong things that are so despicable. When you get annoyed with me, don't badmouth me. You don't know me. If I ask for forgiveness and you can't forgive, that is yours. But don't sit in a circle and badmouth me. I don't want you to have a curse on your life or your family members. You don't like me, throw me out of your circle. It is well. Even if I'm seated with you on the group and you don't like me, please don't put me in your conversation with anyone. Because I don't want Genesis chapter 12 and verses 1 to 3 to happen to you. Because it will. Let me read it for you. Especially verses. Let me read for you verse 2. And I'll make you a great nation, and I'll bless you abundantly, and make your name great, exalted, distinguished, and you shall be a blessing, a source of great good to others. And I'll bless, do good for, benefit those who bless you, and I will curse. Number 3 will only work if the part in number 2, and you shall be a blessing, a source of great good to others. Most of you have been hit hard because of you touching me. But you didn't know that it was coming from me. You don't badmouth me and you go free. I am an immigrant. When I came to apologize to different people, they did not get the point. They thought, Nali negura. I hear lowering my level. My level has never been lowered. You ever want to be promoted and you're general? The Lord first demotes you, then takes you through the ranks. Welcome to Esther's experience. Verse 3, I'll bless, do good for, benefit those who bless you, and I will curse, that is subject to my wrath and judgment. The one who curses, despises, dishonors, has contempt for you, and in you all the families, nations of the earth will be blessed. 2 weeks back, the Lord told me to be careful with some people. The Lord told me to learn how to control my anger because someone was going to get hurt. The Lord taught me to look beyond people who love punching me all the time, testing me, and exposing my stupidity. The Lord started to teach me to look over your heads like this. Because something was coming your way. And I told the Lord I don't want to be the cause of certain things in people's lives anymore. Because now I know who I am. Because people have shown me they don't love me. They are respecting me with hypocrisy. I am the same girl you met. These things have not just happened. They've been there from when I was a baby. I don't become a nyabo now because of what you know about me. It has always been in the background, hidden, because it never brought anything on the table to take care of my parents and us. It's the Lord that forced me out. I never wanted. And you played the part of being of the Lord forcing me out. Never beat a drum. The noise it makes is completely different. As I conclude, why did I read Washington? He has a family. There's stuff about people you don't know. I told you the George House in Mengo Senior School was named after him. And when I went to Mengo, they put me in George House. That was my house. We wore pink. Because the school is for kings. And George, his great-grandfather was from Britain. But because you don't know how to put history together, you don't get the point. Each one of us has history. I want you to go and see it in your own history, your family history, and help yourselves. You're struggling with life because of the things your forefathers did. I've been struggling because of what Kaveja did. Esther, why is it affecting you only? Because I took on after her. And the kingship in her was not supposed to exist. There are people in Buganda, it's a taboo. They knew the power she came with. You don't need to find us in history to start believing things. Ask the Lord about it. You can also see in the spirit. I ask pastors why they are not seeing me. Because the Lord hid me. I've been hidden. Until when COVID came. And the word wawe surrendered me officially. We are looking at the garment. As a leader, what kind of garment are you wearing? As a father, as a mother. If you're under the fivefold ministries, are you wearing the right garment? Chapter 19 of Leviticus. We looked at Aaron. Moses, God told Moses to make a garment for Aaron. Aaron was chosen. They were coming from the tribe of the Levites. That's where the high priests were coming from. According to the word of God, I come from that tribe. I don't only carry the king's blood. I carry the blood of the Levites. I took on after my dad and his wife. There are things I took on that I don't need to wait for inheritance. I am the firstborn. I took on the biggest chunk of them. The Bible calls a firstborn Manyi. I am the power of their love. Read, we are looking at family dynamics. Jacob and his family. It's still on hold somewhere. We will continue. Get some time and read the book of Genesis with your families. And help yourself when you're having family dynamics. They have destroyed families. Chapter 19, verse 1, Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, You shall be holy, for the Lord your God am holy. Now I'm going to stop here. Continue to read the book of Leviticus. We've looked at a physical man who is not from the Bible, George Washington. His childhood, whose son he is, his originality. The leader in him was already there. He didn't need to go to school to study leadership. There are leaders who are born. Then there are leaders who become leaders because they've gone to school. Then there are those who become leaders because of the people they work with. They are mentors. Joshua was one of them. Help yourself and the leader in you before you become poison to the society. We are gonna sing a song and I'll leave. I want you to sit anywhere and badmouth anyone when you have evidence. Stop bad-mouthing people because you're hiding your stupidity. It's you who did the things, you wronged people, and you're busy destroying people's reputations. And you also want to be called a leader anyway. Sorry, I'll educate you, don't worry about it. I will educate you on a big scale, don't you worry. Because I don't know what you study in those funny classes you go to attend. I don't even see why you educate yourself and go and study politics. I don't know why you guys are attending leadership classes. Because even the people who are teaching, you don't practice it. The Bible says he's coming back to take a church that has no wrinkle or spot. He does not give names. Me and you are the church. The season we are in, we're supposed to help one another. You're not helping your small church. Since 2020, I told pastors, when you come out to teach and you go live on social media, make sure those online are considered. I've been thrown out of churches. And the Lord told me now concentrate on my work. They took advantage of the situation. People just use us. Never ever beat your child and tell them to leave home. Your neighbor is going to take in that child and they're going to benefit in a way you don't know. And after many years, you're going to see your neighbor when they have a lot of things because of the child you threw out. Then you start claiming your child and you'll go to court. And you're going to be punished. You, the father and the mother of the child. When the Lord told me to go to Bombo and grow, I first quarreled in April. I told the Lord, Posovunja is not my father. I don't know him. He's like you, the guy said, you know. I got annoyed. I was like, sure. Oyo musajja ankuba bulwandika ebintu byankuba. Nengana nagamba ojja kugenda nengamba sijja nagamba ojja kugenda. When nagonda I am the happiest. Yangamba follow him around and do Galatians 6 in his life. Let me read it for you. The 12 people you're supposed to follow in the season, I am supposed to post them as a must. Whether you watch them or you don't, it is your business with your families. Let him who receives instruction in the word of God share all good things with his teacher, contributing to his support. With Apostle Bunjo, I don't discuss when the Lord says. I don't ask questions. Esther, that is not your father. Go and ask the Lord why he told me to go to that house and grow. You who is asking me that question, are you my father? Are you playing the father role in my life? All I've seen is you throwing me out. Yet it's you guys who raised me. I look for a father to talk to and you're not available. Let me go to Bomba and grow. I don't want to be stunted. Hey. Bombo welcomes me, trust me. They are waiting for me. You watch and see. The taxi will come from Bombo. And it is written on Bombo, Esther Solome. That is if you'll see us in the spirit. Keep waiting for me at the airport. I will march to Bombo without looking left, right. I'll pass Garuga. I'll pass Seguku. I'll pass Mutunda. I'll pass Kabowa. I'll pass Najana Kombi. And I go to Bombo. I did work in Bombo. I did work in Luwero. I went up to Arua. I went through Pakwachi. Pade. I worked on behalf of Nema. I went through till the West Nile. Nkisuse obamba vili. You're not going to throw me out. Call me names. And you think God is going to wait for you until you change your mind. My friends, people are dying. We have work to do. Don't have your time. The shoes I'm wearing are for a man who is making 66, 46 years in service. With a wife, 41 years in serving the Lord and walking with the Lord. Tata is more than 50 years walking with the Lord. But ignited the fire, it is 49 in Namasagari. Till death. Which caused his losing out in Namasagari. And he went to Chivuli using his boxing skills as a coach. And Chivuli got sciences. Hope your father has added the value some way. I told you I'm not your father's child. I'm not your grandmother's daughter. Neither your grandfather. If you don't attend my classes, slow down when you're writing stuff to me in any group. I will not fire back. Trust me, I've learned how it works. I'm not poison. No gold is produced using poison. I just look at you because you have children. All of you. And I'm a child. What I've gone through, I don't want to see any person's child go through. Vanna Suzentia. Tyalya omumbejja gwe tutwala leero. Yasuzata omwana w'abalungi oyo kalala. Ng'akanya kimunze kusaba nnyo. Leka olunaku luno tye emikolo gino gye yansuubizanga. Amulese omuntu gwe yansuubizanga. Amulese omuntu ow'ebirooto byange. Kandigide kansanyuke. Gye mikolo gino gye yansuubizanga. Amulese omuntu we yansuubizanga. Amulese omuntu ow'ebirooto byange. Kandigide kansanyuke. Lord, thank you for protecting my brother and his son. Right now, I would be going to Mpiji crying like crazy. He would be in ashes. Omulangatira ngalyawo kalala omumbejja yo mkungu waffe olwaleero gy'emikolo gino gye yansuubizanga amuleese omutu gwe yansuubiza ntaliyo amuleese omutu ow'ebirooto byange kandigire kansanyuke omutonzi wange gy'emikolo gino gye yansuubizanga amuleese omutu gwe yansuubiza nta I'm praying for every man and woman to get the right partner. They are there. The world is saying there is no one right for you. That is the world mentality. The Bible says that I am someone's rib. Make sure you fit in that man's rib. Because if you don't fit, you're in trouble. Allow God to choose for you a partner. If you're already there, tell the Lord about it. Omutonzi wange. I, Esther Solome. Right now I'm serving my God. The rest, I've wasted a lot of time. If I don't do my assignments, Uganda, you're in trouble. When I was got to know your purpose. Oh Lord. Muyamba abaana bammwe. Help your children to discover who they are before it's too late. Tata, you have less time. Start raising the next leaders. You don't like the leaders on? Raise the right leader. Just stop making noise. You have the president in your house. You're tired? Stop making noise and train the next in line. I train leaders, by the way. Antero mukisa wakati w'ennyanja awo masekati g'embuyaga oy we antero mukisa nenyinyaga sekati g'ebigambo yewe we antero mukisa jagala laberero tomukisa guva gy'oli nyamukisa guli bwerukera tirulwera ebintu bikyuka ekintu kikyuka nga bidoka tonna ensi n'ensi kululwomu awo we antera omukisa wakati w'ennyanja awo masekati g'ebigambo you're coming 2026, I'll still be here and you have to work with me. I drive it in the spirit, you take us in the physical. You don't know what to do, you're fired. Watch and see. We still have it. Others are going to use witchcraft to get it. Yet it's not theirs also. They don't know that their grandfather stole it. There were bigger people that used him to steal it. To all Baganda out there, it's time to repent. I told you I'm going to pray for the king of Buganda. He is the king. 29 years. His dad sat on the seat for 30. His dad died at 45. This one made 67. Unless the Lord says he's done, he's not going anywhere. Kati buli yewera mumugamba I'm out. Mumugambe. They are seers, but when they see, they can't control anything. That's why they laughed at us and said, we are praying, and God will not hear us. I am not going to see the king die just yet, because someone is fighting for a seat that they didn't get. Because if I enter that war for that seat, you're all in trouble. So the king that is there will stay. Abalokoka nabamusembeza ye. Yesu beanaza n'omusaayi gwo ye omutukuvu abakola obutukirivu n'okubulira enjiri abayimusa erinnya ly'ekkulu. Yeah, I know you got pastors who read the Bible. Unfortunately, they don't have the Holy Spirit to interpret it the way it should be. Tamanji mu kisibo kye tuliyambala engurezi. And pastors who decided to cross that line, careful out there. Don't use the word of God to fight such wars, you and your family. After collecting the big numbers of followers, don't you enter that war. You don't know it. Pastors who are behind those fighting to take the current king off, careful, because you might not live a day to see your 4 generations. Tukungane tubebumu, careful. Abalwanyi ba Mukama wano ne mu mawanga gonna tukungane tubebumu, tuyimuse Katonda waffe, tuyimbe tusakanye, tuyimuse amalobozi waggulu. Olwo tulimulaba mu kitiibwa kye, alitusangula amaziga, alitunaazaako ennaku, nga tuwonya okufa n'emiteeru gy'ensi eno. Liriba ssanyu okulaba omulokozi alyoka atutikire engule zimasamasa mu Yerusalemi. Tuliyambala engule zimasamasa, olutalo nga luwedde tuliyambala engule. Now those who read things from social media, careful when you're defending wrong things. Don't be an accomplice to make noise for us. We need some silence. Because whatever you're reading in the news, I told you when you didn't attend class. Ngokusaba ngakuwedde. Me, I'm tired of seeing death. I'm tired of seeing people dying of hunger. People don't have a solution. And some people are using the situation to make money. If you don't listen, we'll go back into a lockdown and you all go home. If that's what you want, wait for it. Because as a president, you're supposed to protect your country, right? I've done it. Tuliambala, tuliambala, engulazi masa masa. All the youth, it's time to work. Make less noise. Show me what you're adding to the society. Showing me who's working where and they don't have academic favors. That is not your work. People are dying. People don't have tuition. People don't have food. People don't have what to wear. People are frustrated. Show me what you're putting on the table. Don't show me who's working where, when, how. Because if I enter there, you're also going to be fired. Careful. You're all going to be fired. Watch and see. You'll make one mistake like this. The devil does not have a plan B. And God is plan A, period. When people say that I'll not come to the US, they thought cowed them. Not with the God I serve. Now if you're there and someone is hindering you from getting what you want, tell them Hebrews 4:12. The word of God is a double-edged sword. Boyana, boyana, nonya yazi, mwemane kwa kane sitia. Boyana, boyana, nonya razi, mwemane kwa tane sitia. Razi rango wedane, damene kwe kamwe, ne nywezane sitia. Ne kuteku razi Yesu Kristo mpangule, byonna ebinumba. Razi rango redane, damwene kwe kamwe, ne kwatane sitia. Ne kuteku razi Yesu Kristo mpangule, byonna ebinumba. I say mboyana, mboyana, nonyara Yesu. Yesu orazo redenyo. Oyo mwene kwata muvuli mbera nesitia non pangula. Razi rango redane, nywezane sitia. Ne kuteku razi Yesu Kristo mpangule, byonna ebinumba. Razi rango wedane, nywezane sitia. Ne kuteku razi Yesu Kristo mpangule, nonna ebinumba. Thank you so much, Judith Favidia. As I wind up, let this song speak to your heart. It is good to have friends, it's good to hang out. But can your friends go an extra mile for you when things go south? When you die, can your friends take on your responsibility? Can they stand in the gap to take care of, can my friends stand in the gap to take care of my father and mother? If they cannot do it when we are still alive, how do I waste time with you anymore? It's time to work for God. I have to beg you. That is not the God I serve. Ekigambo kya Katonda kimala kisala ng'ekitala kikola. Buli lwe nkyatula nga byonna binzika, kimala ekigambo kye kikola. Ekigambo kya Katonda kimala kisala n'ekitala kikola. Buli lwe kyatula nga byonna biyinzika, kimala ekigambo kye kikola. Yansuubiza lakola, mwesigwa zenjulira. Buli lwe nkyatula nga byonna biyinzika, kimala ekigambo kye kikola. Yansuubiza era akola, mwesigwa zenjulira. Buli lwe nkyatula nga byonna binzika, kimala ekigambo kye kikola. Kimala ekigambo kye kikola. If you're going through a hard time and no one cares, and people who would have stood in the gap for you come first, and you're not first in their lives, I want you to look up the Lord. It's all I've done, and I'm able to survive the wave of death that brings stress, that comes from stress, caused by people's words, caused by people's humiliation. I've been able to go through a series of death attempts caused by man's words. I want you to look up to the Lord. I want you to read Psalms 121. It will help you a lot. That's where I've hid. All my friends I stood in the gap for, we pray. We talk about the word. I live the word all the time. My time for man is done long time ago. The Lord told me to stop playing around in June 2020. Because I was going through a hard time, the more I did it, the more I got hurt. Now I'm done. Every day I reduce. Heavenly Father, we give you praise, we give you glory, we give you honor. We thank you for loving us. Teach us your ways. Give us a clear understanding of your word. Help us use the word the right way. Teach us your love to stand in the gap for people that you've called us to serve. Many people have used this season to get money, and they're taking money from the poor. They're taking money from people who are struggling because they have things to teach us. And they're like, come on now, let me go and learn. But the season is bad. People don't have food. They don't even have transport. They're just struggling. But because we don't speak the truth, We keep putting there our little money. Lord, I pray that you open the eyes of men and women out there, those who are skilled. The Lord told Moses, look for people who are skilled and talented that have given wisdom to make the garments. He did not say look for people who want to be paid. He told him to look for people whom God has skilled and talented and given wisdom. I hope the people teaching us have some wisdom and they're not just copying and pasting stuff. And we pay for things they've copied. Lord, touch people's hearts. People are just getting rich while others are becoming poor. Every weekend I see people going for parties, drinking alcohol. Then they come here and tell us how the president of Uganda has brought poverty. And I'm like, what poverty are we talking about here? What money do you use to buy alcohol and parties all the time? Lord, help us. Lord, touch Uganda and free your people. Holy Spirit, free your people. All we've done is to use people and get what we want. Unfortunately, that time is done. The Lord is taking over. And I pray every man and woman is standing at their post. Because Ezekiel 33 is coming for you. Jeremiah 33 is coming for you. If you're called in a particular area in this season, I pray you brace yourself and you're ready. Because the instructor is on his way. The chief auditor is on his way. The chief accountant is on his way. Hope you're ready. I plead the blood of Jesus over every man and woman who is sick. Every man and woman who has no job. Every man and woman who has no documents abroad and they are struggling with their lives. Father, intervene and free your people because they are in bondage. Israel was in bondage for 400 years. There are people who are in bondage for 10 years, 20 years. Because when they left Uganda, they decided to go into asylums and they became prisoners in the countries they are seated in. And up to now, they are still struggling because they never asked for your permission to leave. Lord, when you told me in 2020 on the 30th of June to tell immigrants to trust you for documents, to stop doing marriages that you're not part of, those are covenants you're not part of. Lord, I did my part and I'll continue to remind them. The rest is theirs. Because that side there is no more hope apart from misery. I cover myself in the blood. I cover my family members in the blood. Lord, I thank you for protecting my brother and his son. Continue to protect us, Lord. Lord, I accept to serve you. I accept to follow instructions to the dot. Mordecai told Esther, don't think you're going to go free in such a time as this if you don't do. If relief does not come from there, your father's house, you and your father's house will be wiped out. Lord, I don't want to see that. I want our time to come when we are ready for it. I will serve you no matter what. If it means to stay alone, Lord, I will. I've accepted, Lord. Because I know that's where my deliverance is. I cover every man and woman under the blood. Those seated on the front line and those behind the camera. I cover them in the blood. Those who watch this class years from now. Because I know they will be watched. This ain't my work. This is God's work. But of course, a man and a woman who doesn't understand how God works. This is just a story. And of which I no longer have time for such people. Because my time is my life. Lord, help me not to terminate your work. Right now I'm being misunderstood and judged and everything. But I know they will sit back and say, thank you, Lord, for your relief that you sent through that small girl. I know that day will happen. And I can't wait to get there. Because all I'll do, I'll lock myself in my room and raise my hands up and kneel and say, thank you, Lord, for delivering us. I will not terminate the process. I am ready. When Andrew Chisaka told me that, Esther, you're in the desert, you're in the wilderness, and told me not to ever make my own God in the desert, not to grumble, not to complain, not to test God, because that is what Israel did in the wilderness, and they all died. And it's only 2 men that reached the promised land, Joshua and Caleb, and the kids that were given birth to. Because Joshua went on the seat when he was 40. When Moses rested and was buried by God. By the time Moses died, Joshua was trained well enough to take on the mantle. Father, I pray that as I move, I train others to be able to do what I can do for the glory of your name. Give me the resources I need to be able to stand in the gap and do your work right. Intervene in my situation here to get everything I need to get. You told me to serve you with my money. That means I'm supposed to be working. Change my situation, Lord. Wherever my documents are, touch the men and women there and give me my rightful job where I don't have to struggle with money. And I'll come back and testify of your goodness, because I know it's around the corner. All I have to do is to obey and never move from the position where you want me to be, because you're the one who does the networking. I give you praise, I give you glory, I give you honor. I pray for the fivefold ministries out there. Give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Touch their hearts that are hardened and they don't want to work together. Lord, talk to them on a personal level. I pray for the presidents all over the world, using the president of Uganda as the point of contact. Lord, protect them, give them wisdom, give them the right men and women who give them the right advice on how to handle the situation. I pray for Africa to wake up before it's too late. I pray for all the immigrants around the world. I pray that they get to understand their position in the season. I pray for the different political parties that are supposed to work with the ruling parties to wake up and stop the nonsense, but to wake up and work together and see how they help the people who entrusted them, the people they talked to and promised things here and there, because the time is now before it's too late. I thank you for mothers and fathers out there. Give them wisdom to raise their children right, because they are the next in line. I give you praise, Lord. I give you glory. I give you honor. I hide under the blood. Lord, hide me, and only those you've given permission to find me. Devil, I'm your enemy. It's Nehemiah 4:14. I'm taking the battle to your camp. Enough is enough. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Heavenly Father. I give you praise. I give you glory. I give you honor. In Jesus' mighty name I believe and pray. Amen. Have a blessed day. See you around. See you when I see you. Stay safe. Stay in the Word. Hide in the Word. It has the strength. It has everything you're looking for. Man does not have what you're looking for. Man can fail you at any time they want. Man disappoints. Man leads to depression. Man works for the devil. When man sinned, the authority was given to the devil. It is now you wake up. Cursed is he who trusts in man. You want to be a curse? You want to look like the bushes in the desert? You trust man. They will show you. They are good at it. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye. It's always an honor to come and serve. Bye.